Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsaf Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. Let's begin with updates from the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to fight Hamas until absolute victory. Netanyahu said this during his meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Netanyahu said he spoke with Sullivan about regional threats, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Meanwhile, the White House said that Sullivan spoke to Netanyahu about scaling down Israel's operations in Gaza in the face of high civilian casualties. Israeli Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz said that Israel was holding a strategic and professional discourse with the US over the war. Gantz added that the US is not dictating Israel's actions. His comments come as a rift seems to be emerging between the two allies. Washington has provided diplomatic cover for its long-standing ally, but lately it has expressed increasing alarm, with US President Joe Biden calling the Israeli bombing in Gaza indiscriminate. The United Nations continues to raise alarms over the grave conditions in Gaza. A UN official has now warned of hunger and starvation in the region, saying that half the population in Gaza is starving. He added, and I quote, "The grim reality is also that 9 out of 10 people are not eating enough, are not eating every day." The United Nations has been calling for a humanitarian ceasefire. On Tuesday, members of the United Nations General Assembly had voted for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. However, the UNGA motion was non-binding. The Israeli army has released a new video. It claims to show what the army calls terror operatives surrendering and laying down their weapons. The video shows dozens of men walking in a line with their hands raised in the air and 3 people laying down weapons and other items on the ground. The army said that the video was filmed at the Kamal Adwan Hospital in Jabalia in northern Gaza. Meanwhile, the Gaza Health Ministry said that the Israeli army detained 70 of the medical staffers at the hospital. A Jewish protest group blocked a major highway in the U.S. city of Philadelphia, snarling rush hour traffic. The protesters had gathered to demand a ceasefire in Israel's war in Gaza. Members of Jewish Voice for Peace protested in 8 other U.S. cities, including Washington, Boston, Atlanta, and Chicago. This was to mark the 8th night of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. In other top stories, European Union leaders have granted Ukraine a major political win. The EU has agreed to start membership negotiations with Ukraine. Officials said the unexpected green light for talks took place as Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban agreed to leave the room. For weeks, Orban said he would block such a deal because it did not serve Hungary's interests. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the move, calling it truly remarkable. Finland has reopened 2 crossings on its border with Russia. This was after Finland closed all its 8 border crossings with the country in November. Finland shut the Russian border to stop a rising number of refugees from arriving in the Nordic nation. Helsinki had also blamed Moscow for orchestrating the influx of refugees. 3 people were arrested in Denmark and 1 in the Netherlands yesterday. The Danish police said that their arrests were made on the suspicion of them preparing a terrorist attack. However, the officials did not give any information about which militant group the suspects were related to. In August, Denmark's intelligence service said that threats towards the country had intensified. This was after anti-Islam demonstrators damaged several copies of the Holy Quran earlier this year. Guyana and Venezuela have agreed to avoid resorting to force on the conflict over the disputed Essequibo region. This comes amid a recent heightening of tensions over the disputed oil-rich border area. The disagreement between Venezuela and Guyana has run for decades. In recent years, Venezuela revived its claim after major oil and gas discoveries in Essequibo. The dispute is before the International Court of Justice. However, in a referendum this month, Venezuela ejected the court's jurisdiction and backed the creation of a new state in the disputed region. The national security trial of jailed Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai is due to start next week. This comes more than a year after it was originally scheduled to begin and 3 years since he was first imprisoned. The 76-year-old faces charges under Hong Kong's sweeping national security law. Lai has been accused of conspiracy and of publishing seditious materials. Meanwhile, Hong Kong's National Security Police have added 5 overseas-based activists to their list of wanted individuals. They have also offered bounties for information leading to their arrest. Officials have offered rewards of 1 million Hong Kong dollars, which comes up to over $100,000 for each of the 5 activists. These 5 new targets add to a list of 8 other activists who were deemed fugitives by Hong Kong authorities in July. South Korea's military had deployed its fighter jets yesterday. This was in response to Chinese and Russian military planes allegedly flying into Korea's air defense zone unannounced. Seoul said that 4 Russian and 2 Chinese aircraft had crossed into the Korea Air Defense Identification Zone over the Sea of Japan. Moving to climate news, Kenya's military is working to rescue hundreds of people stranded by severe floods. The floods have claimed the lives of at least 170 people. Thousands have been displaced since heavy rainfall began in November. Kenya's weather department predicts heavy rains into the new year. Severe cold weather has blanketed large parts of China. A cold wave is moving across the country from the north to the south. Heavy snowfall has caused highway closures in at least 12 Chinese provinces. The president of the COP28 Summit, Sultan Al Jaber, says his firm will keep investing in oil. Al Jaber also says that his firm will continue to act as a supporter of low-carbon energy. He added that oil was necessary to meet global energy requirements. Al Jaber is the CEO of the United Arab Emirates' national oil and gas company called ADNOC. The U.S. Energy Department has announced the allocation of up to $89 million for carbon capture projects in natural gas and coal plants. This will be in the states of Texas, California, and North Dakota. The initiative aims to demonstrate the viability of carbon capture and storage technologies. According to reports, the projects could prevent around 7.7 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that if he is elected again, he would withdraw the $3 billion pledge made by the U.S. for climate funds. The pledge was announced by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris at the COP28 Climate Summit. The Climate Fund aims to support developing countries in reducing emissions and adapting to climate change. The construction of a border wall between the United States and Mexico is posing challenges for local wildlife. Conservationists argue that the wall is harmful to wildlife as it affects habitat connectivity. The barrier will make animals vulnerable to climate change, drought, and inbreeding. Scientists say that connected landscapes are important for a healthy wildlife ecosystem. Environmental activists and scientists have expressed their concerns over Mexico's inauguration of the first section of the Maya train. They are saying that the construction threatens wildlife and divides the jungle. The Maya train is a flagship infrastructure project led by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to connect ancient sites of the Mayan civilization. Canada will be facing a trial for climate inaction. An appeals court has reopened a case by 15 young activists who had sued the government 4 years ago. The initial lawsuit in 2019 accused the Canadian federal government of contributing to global warming by not implementing a robust plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. On to business and tech news. The European Central Bank decided to leave its key interest rates unchanged yesterday. The ECB left the key interest rates unchanged at a record high level of 4% for the second straight meeting. The central bank has also revised their inflation expectations for the Eurozone down to 5.4% in 2023 and 2.1% in 2024. Meanwhile, the bank expects economic growth of 0.8% in the coming year. United Airlines flight attendants picketed outside LaGuardia Airport in New York yesterday. They are being represented by a US-based union, the Association of Flight Attendants. Members of the AFA union are further expected to picket outside 19 airports across the US. This is to put pressure on contract negotiations with the airline. Members of Sweden's If Metal trade union held a picket outside a Tesla dealership in the Swedish city of Malmo yesterday. They aimed to pressure the automaker into accepting collective bargaining rights for staff. The electric car maker is facing a backlash in the Nordic region from unions and some pension funds. This is over its refusal to accept a demand from Swedish mechanics for negotiating over wages and other conditions. General Motors will lay off 1,300 workers at 2 U.S. auto factories in early January. More than 900 workers will be laid off at its Orion assembly plant. The plant will end the production of the Chevrolet Bolt electric vehicle and be converted for electric truck production that will start in late 2025. Another 350 workers at its Lansing Grand River plant will also be laid off. Meanwhile, Cruise, the embattled subsidiary of General Motors, is also planning to slash its workforce. That is according to new reports. It'll eliminate 24% of jobs, which will affect 900 employees. The layoffs are part of a plan to slash costs and attempt to revamp the company. This comes as Cruise has been distressed after an accident caused by its robotaxi. On October 2nd, one of its robotaxis ran over and dragged a pedestrian. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has urged governments to treat e-cigarettes similarly to tobacco and ban all flavors. The UN agency has called for urgent measures to control them. This has threatened cigarette companies' bets on smoking alternatives. It comes as vape makers like Juul have been facing a backlash, that is for unlawfully marketing their addictive products to minors. Oil giant BP cut over $40 million in remuneration from former CEO Bernard Looney. This is after the company found that he had knowingly misled the board over personal relationships with colleagues. The company said in a statement, Looney would receive no further salary or benefits from the dismissal date. He will also not be paid his annual bonus for this fiscal year. On Wednesday, Looney was officially dismissed by BP for serious misconduct. 3 major American retailers, Amazon, Walmart and Target, have said they're suspending sales of water bead products. The move comes amid growing safety concerns. Water beads are small, colorful balls made of super-absorbent polymers. They are often sold as toys for children, but warnings about serious health risks associated with cases of ingesting these products have piled up over the years. Europe's top court has sided with Amazon over a case where the e-commerce giant was accused by the European Commission of illegal tax benefits. Amazon was ordered to pay back 250 million euros, or roughly $270 billion, to Luxembourg in 2017, which it'll no longer have to pay. Amazon has welcomed the ruling, saying it had followed all laws. Google has said it will begin testing a new feature on its Chrome browser. This is to ban third-party cookies that advertisers use to track customers. The search giant is set to roll out a feature called Tracking Protection. It will seek to restrict cross-site tracking by default. The feature will be rolled out for 1% of Chrome users globally on January 4th. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. The West Indies beat England by 10 runs in yesterday's T20 match. Brandon King and Rovman Powell scored half-centuries as the West Indies scored 176 runs in their innings. England took the game to the wire with Sam Curran scoring a half-century, but his efforts fell short. The West Indies now lead the five-match T20 series 2-0. India beat South Africa by 106 runs in yesterday's T20 match. The men in blue batted first and put a mammoth total of 201 runs. Captain Suryakumar Yadav scored a century in just 56 balls. Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 60 runs during India's batting. South Africa were bowled out for just 95 runs. Indian spinner Kuldeep Yadav took 5 wickets to collapse the South African batting order. The win helped India tie the 3-match T20 series 1-all. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, or BCCI, will retire former captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni's number 7 jersey. This means that no new players will be allowed to pick the number 7 for themselves. This is not the first time that a shirt number has been taken off the shelf for current players. Batting legend Sachin Tendulkar's number 10 jersey has also been retired by the BCCI. Australian all-rounder Cameron Green has revealed that he is suffering from chronic kidney disease. The 24-year-old was diagnosed with the condition at birth. Due to the chronic disease, Green's kidneys are unable to filter blood. Green says that medical professionals have informed him that his kidneys are functioning only at 60% capacity. Moving to football, Liverpool were handed a 2-1 defeat by Union Saint-Gilloise in the Europa League. The Belgian club took a lead over Liverpool in the 32nd minute. 7 minutes later, the Reds came back with an equaliser to tie the score at 1-all. Just before half-time, Cameron Peretas scored the winning goal for Union Saint-Gilloise. Despite the loss, Liverpool are through to the last 16 of the Europa League. Rebecca Welch will become the first female referee in the Premier League. She will referee the match between Fulham and Burnley on the 23rd of December. 40-year-old Welch was a regular in the Women's Super League and is looking to make a full-time transition to the Premier League. The Turkish Football Federation has handed a ban to Ankaragücü club president Faruk Koka. This was after Koka had punched a referee in the face after Ankaragücü's match to rival Rizespor. A disciplinary body has also imposed a fine worth $69,000 on Koka. Various other Ankaragücü officials have also been handed bans and fines. 6 shirts worn by Argentine legend Lionel Messi at the 2022 World Cup have been sold for over $7.8 million at an auction. The collection included the shirt that Messi wore during the World Cup final against France. The details of the buyers who have purchased Messi's Argentina jerseys have not been disclosed. In hockey, Germany beat India 4-1 in the Men's Junior World Cup semi-final. Germany scored early in the 8th minute, then India Colts equalized in the 11th. However, Germany took the game away from India after scoring 3 goals after the first quarter. India will play either France or Spain for 3rd place on Saturday. In mixed martial arts, a brawl erupted between UFC fighters Leon Edwards and Colby Covington during the pre-fight conference. This was after Covington made fun of Leon Edwards' late father. After the comment, Edwards chucked his microphone at Covington, hitting him on the head. At least 6 security personnel had to step in to prevent the fight from escalating. Moving to the world of entertainment now, 94 songs and the background music of 149 films are competing for coveted honors at the 96th Academy Awards. A team of approximately 390 members will vote to pick the winners. Films have been allowed to submit up to 3 songs for consideration. The 96th Academy Awards will take place in March next year. Comedian Trevor Noah will make history by hosting the Grammy Awards for the 4th time next year. The comedian will be the first to achieve this milestone. Noah said on a podcast that he loves attending the awards as he gets to see live performances by artists. Game of Thrones director David Nutter will receive the Directors Guild of America Lifetime Achievement Award. He will be felicitated at the 76th Annual DGA Awards in February next year. Nutter has become only the 6th director to receive this recognition. A play based on the hit Netflix series Stranger Things premiered in London yesterday. The play, titled Stranger Things: The First Shadow, is set decades before the show's events. Actors like Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, David Harbour and Matthew Modine were seen at the premiere. Matt and Ross Duffer, who created the show Stranger Things, are also the creative producers of the theatre production. The first trailer of Kung Fu Panda 4 released yesterday. The film promises a thrilling continuation of the animated blockbuster series. The trailer features the new antagonist, actor Viola Davis, as a shape-shifting character with the ability to resurrect defeated foes. The movie is slated to release in March next year. Comedian and actor Tiffany Haddish is set to face 2 misdemeanor charges for allegedly falling asleep behind the wheel. She was arrested on the 24th of November when she was found asleep in her vehicle in the middle of the road. The charges reportedly include 1 count of driving under the influence of alcohol. Haddish's arraignment and plea are scheduled for the 22nd of December. The prosecution and defense have rested their arguments in the sexual assault trial of actor Jonathan Majors. The jury members have begun their deliberations. The actor is facing charges of intentional assault and harassment. In March, Majors' ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari had accused him of assaulting her. Pop icon Madonna resumed her celebration tour in New York after a health scare in June. The show was scheduled to launch last July, but was postponed after the singer was found unconscious. Madonna will perform in the American capital, Washington, D.C. next week. The celebration tour's finale is set to be held in Mexico City in April next year. Actor Taylor Lautner spoke about his relationship with singer Taylor Swift on a podcast. He said that Swift was the one who ended their brief romance back in 2009. Lautner said that he did not have anything against Swift. He praised Swift's song Back to December, which is rumored to be about their relationship. Brooklyn Nine-Nine actor Andre Braugher's publicist Jennifer Allen has revealed the cause of the actor's death. According to the publicist, Braugher was battling lung cancer for months before succumbing to the disease. Allen announced that on the 11th of December, Braugher had passed away at the age of 61. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.